In this video, we're going to talk about one of the most important things in football, and that is the drills you run for the offensive line. I'm going to go through all the drills that I do as an offensive line coach. Then, after I go through them all, I'll tell you which ones that I try and do every day. And then I've got a bonus drill for you at the end, so make sure you stick around. So, I'm going to draw all these up on the whiteboard for you. The first one that we do at the start of every phase, whether it's spring ball, summer camp, summer workouts, fall camp, we always start with the stance and the start. I always like to make sure we have our guys in the right stances and then that we're getting off the ball from there. So when we do this drill, I'll be standing at the front and then I'll have my guys in front of me facing me. We'll have about the first string, then we'll have the twos, the threes, and so on. I'll have my left tackles here, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle, and then we'll have that all the way back. So first thing, I'll make sure we're getting down whenever I say down. Then I'll go through each line and check their stances and tell them what needs adjusting. That'll be the end of the first rep. Then from there on, we get down. I expect that they're in their stances. I'll spot check them here or there, and then we'll start from there. So the first rep will just come straight forward. Okay, then the next rep, maybe we'll go to the left. We're foot firing each way. Next rep will go to the right. And then once we get into some of our pass pro steps, we'll do a rep of pass pro instead of going backwards. So some people, stance and start is an everyday drill. It's not for me because once I teach them how to get into their stance, there are a lot of other important things that I want to be able to go through. So I use stance and start more as a warm-up drill. This is something we can do pre-game just to get those muscles firing. If we're starting practice with a special team circuit and all the skill players, they're out returning kicks and punts and gunning down punts, we don't do that as the offensive line, so I get an extra 5 minutes with them at the beginning of practice, a flex period. This is something that we'll do just to get those muscles firing a little early. The next drill we'll do is something that I call first steps. This is another warm-up drill, and this is something that we do pregame as well. So this is the goal line. Imagine that we're pregame, we're down in the end zone. Then I tell my linemen we're going to line up with our left foot on the line. They just get in a line, moving all the way down the goal line from there. And then whenever I blow the whistle, they're going to take their foot that's on the line. They're going to drive off their back foot to get that foot across. This helps with taking false steps at the snap. You're driving off that back leg to get your foot across on an inside zone or even farther on an outside zone. But the whole point of this is just that first step, driving off that back leg instead of taking a false step and pulling yourself. You're pushing yourself off with that back leg. So I blow the whistle, they take their first step, they shoot their hands as well. And a coaching point for this is they need to make sure that they shift their weight. One of the things that I see pretty often when we do this drill, and maybe I need to do less reps and slow it down, is they get so ready for the next rep that sometimes they just keep their weight on their back foot, that would be your right foot in this case, and they just kind of step across without actually shifting their weight. So sometimes they end up just kind of toe tapping instead of shifting their weight, and that really defeats the purpose of this drill. So if you want to run this drill, make sure that they're actually shifting their weight, shooting their hands, and then getting reset before the next whistle. Normally I do 10 on each foot. But like I said, I'm probably going to lower the amount of reps of that just to make sure we get better quality than quantity. So those are the drills that I kind of categorize as warm-up drills. Next, let's talk about some things that we do to enhance our run game. The first thing that we practice is solo blocks. We'll have a line of offensive linemen, then we'll have defensive linemen, and I put them on shoulders. We don't block defensive linemen that are head up solo, so I always put them on a shoulder. And then from here, we're just practicing our solo blocks. It doesn't matter who's left tackle, who's right tackle, who's left guard, right guard, center. All of these techniques are interchangeable. If I'm the left tackle and that defensive lineman is a 5, then this is the technique that I would use on an inside zone running play where I'm just trying to almost base block him out. If I'm the right tackle, this is the technique that I would use if I was coming down on a 4-eye or a 3. I teach the exact same footwork and hand placement both ways. So this drill really helps us with that because it helps left side and right side, and it helps everybody at the same time. We just get pads if we're not in our pads, and we just line up down the line. I just tell them we got solo blocks, we're going to the left. We got solo blocks, we're going to the right. And that's the drill for this one. So we would do it that way for inside zone and our gap scheme runs. We'll also set this drill up the exact same way and practice our power hooks or our reach blocks for our outside wide zone play. So moving into my favorite drill, we're talking about combo pods. So a little sneak peek there of my everyday drills. If I get one drill to run in the day, it is our combo pod drill. So this is a pod. We've got 2 offensive linemen, we have a defensive lineman, and we have a linebacker. Now this is the base way that we start this drill. We are a base 3-4 team, so you can imagine that this is the left tackle, this is the left guard. We've got our head up 4, and then our linebacker in a 20. And this would be just one pod. It takes 4 players to be able to have a pod. If we have to have a 5th, then they just stand outside and rotate in. But we'll have another pod over here. We'll have another pod over here. As many players as we have. I like to keep my strings together, so I'd like to have, like, this would be the 1s, these would be the 2s, these would be the 3s or the freshmen, so on and so forth. But what we do with this drill is I'll tell them our play. Okay, we're going to run inside zone to the left. That's the combo I want to see. If I have an assistant coach, this will be his job, or if I don't, I'll give it to an injured player. But they're going to tell the linebackers which way to flow. They're either going to tell them to scrape over, or they're going to tell them to fill backside. And based on which way the linebacker flows is which lineman comes off. If the linebacker fills backside, then the guard after his combo is going to fall off and close that door. If the linebacker scrapes over, then the guard's going to keep driving and the tackle's going to come off. So on an inside zone play, I'd have the tackle getting both hands on the defensive lineman. We're playing long. Huge fan of what Coach McNally's put out on Twitter this offseason. We're playing long. The backside guard is going to scoot underneath, and they are driving this defensive lineman 90 degrees straight down the field compared to the line of scrimmage, and then they are both getting eyes on this linebacker. Like I said, whichever way he flows is which offensive lineman comes off. So how this will work is we'll do a rep, okay, then the left guy will become the defensive lineman. Defensive lineman will go to linebacker. If we have a 5th offensive lineman in the group, the linebacker will take his rep out, and then whoever was out will become the next guard. Guard will be the next tackle. In the spring, in the summer, we don't really go by positions with this drill. Everybody rotates in. We don't know what fronts we're going to see throughout the year. We don't know what positions everybody's going to play in the year every year. So everybody needs reps being the person who's posting up the defensive lineman. Everybody needs reps scooting underneath the defensive lineman. Then as we get into the season and we have our starters, we have a good idea of what the front's going to be. Then we can manipulate this drill a little bit differently. But once everybody has rotated in and had a rep at each spot, then we'll flip it and go inside zone to the right. So now the defensive lineman would be on this offensive lineman. The linebacker would be back here. After we've done inside zone both ways, then we'll go to outside zone. And the difference for outside zone or wide zone that we run it, instead of taking this defensive lineman 90 degrees up the field, we are taking him 45 degrees. But everything else, for the purposes of this drill, is the same. One of the other differences with that is on a wide zone play, I only want the tackle getting his backside hand on the defensive end because we know that we got the guard coming underneath. And I found that on an outside zone play or a wide zone play, if the post man gets both hands on the defensive lineman, he's not coming off. So that's one of the things that I really drill hard in this drill is the backside hand only on these outside zone combos, but everything else is the same. If the linebacker wants to fill backside, then the guard's going to fall off and block him. The play side tackle should already have leverage on that defensive lineman. So there's your running hole. If the linebacker scrapes over the top, then either the tackle has had leverage to come off and the guard gets to finish the reach, or we're still just driving them both on that 45-degree angle, and then we're going to end up blocking the linebacker and cutting back behind it. Now, we don't actually use running backs in this drill. I just tell the offensive linemen that that's how the play is going to play out so that they can hopefully see that in their heads a little bit. So we have inside zone, we have outside zone, and all that's left is our gap scheme deuce blocks. So for our deuce blocks, I put the defensive lineman on the backside offensive lineman. Then we have our backside linebacker. This would still be on a run to the left. This would be like a head up nose and then a guard on a power play to the left. I have the center basically board drilling the nose here. Then the guard, by how he blocks, is going to set that angle to the backside linebacker. And then from there, it's the exact same drill. Does the linebacker try and chase the puller? Then the center comes off. If the linebacker scrapes over the top, then the guard comes off for him. So that's just the base way to run this drill, and this can take 15 minutes. You could go 5 minutes for inside zone, 5 minutes for outside zone, 5 minutes for deuce blocks, and we're not even into variations yet. And that's the reason that this is my favorite drill, is because you can tweak it so much that it doesn't feel like the same drill every single time. So that's just the base way. What you can do next is you've got your defensive lineman here, but maybe you need to practice with the linebacker on the play side for an inside zone play to the left. This is a different combo than if the linebacker was over here where he was the first time. Or maybe you're not playing a team that uses a head-up defensive lineman. Maybe you're facing the tight front. That defensive lineman's in a 4-eye, then the linebacker's here. That can make this a different combo as well. So you can play with the alignments of the defensive lineman. You can play with the alignment of the linebacker and really change this drill up every single day. Then the next drill we do is we practice our kicks and our wraps. So I'll be standing here and I'll hold one of the tall blue pads. Sometimes I'll use a full line and have the play side line down blocking so that the guard and the tackle can practice staying tight and scraping paint, but I don't always do that. What we'll have here is a line that is going to kick and a line that is going to wrap. So this is going to practice the kick, whether they actually get to kick the defensive lineman or whether we need to convert it into a log. And then the wrap line has to read the block of the kick man to see whether they need to go inside or outside of the kick. So I'll say our term to snap the ball, then I will push the pad either toward him to simulate the defensive lineman squeezing the down block, in which case we would need to log and the wrap would come around, or I will take the pad and push it down for a defensive lineman coming upfield so we can get that kick out, and then the wrap comes inside. So we'll have two lines. They're just lining up from here, and after each rep, the next two jump in line. We do both with our guards, kicking and wrapping. We don't really kick with our tackles. We do wrap with them, though. We do run some counter tray. So they will stay in the wrap line. Guards will do a rep kicking and then jump in line to get a rep for wrapping too. So to help this drill stay more efficient, we will separate this by side where we'll have the right guards and right tackles go. Then we'll move sides and have the left guards and left tackles go after all the right side is gone or vice versa. And in this place, I'll normally let the centers go off to the side and practice their snaps. All right, the last drill that we do for the line is what I call arches. We just have our line from here. This is kind of a substitute for being under the chute. We don't have a chute. We had one that was broke, and I really just never used it anyway. I know, hot take, offensive line coach, not really caring for chutes. This is kind of what we do if I notice that we're just getting too tall. So we've got little arches. Normally receivers or running backs run through these to simulate hitting the hole or breaking down at the top of the route. But they'll get in line and they'll just kind of shuffle sideways and then finish through this one, staying low the whole time. And the first couple times I did this drill, I noticed that they were really looking at the arches themselves, and that's not very realistic to what's going to happen in the game. So I decided I was going to stand here right in the middle of it, and I was going to hold up a number while they moved through the line. And they had to recite that number back to me so I could know that they were looking up. If they didn't give me the number or if they hit their helmet on the arch, they had push-ups after they finished their rep. But these 4 drills really encompass everything that we do in the run game. Our solo blocks, again, they're the same technique, whether I have a zone solo on a 5 technique and I'm the tackle, or I've got a down block. It's the same footwork, the same hand placement that I teach. Our combo pods are really where we spend the most time because we can simulate everything that we need to and still get everybody reps. Then if I see that they need help, we practice our kicks and wraps. And then if we're staying too tall, we run this arch drill. But everything that we do is encompassed in those 4 drills some way, somehow. So moving into the pass, we practice our kick slides with the tackles. So what I'll do is I'll have a line of, we'll say the left tackles here. And what we do is we kick slide on a 45-degree angle if we have somebody to slide out to. I don't teach them vertical set or jump set. The 45-degree angle, some call angle B. I think that's where we can just cover everything we need to. It's good against everything. So that's what we spend our practice time on, is this 45-degree set. So we'll practice 45 degrees. Then I'll take my right tackles that don't need to practice sliding to the left. We'd be over here, and then they would give the left tackles a rush move, and then we flip it. So we'd go left tackles there. Now we'll go right tackles on their 45-degree angle with the left tackles over here rushing them. We do a similar thing with our guards. So we'll say I've got the right guard here, and then we'll give our left guards on the outside shoulder. We're going to practice our up kicks. So instead of sliding at their 45-degree angle, they will fire their feet until they get to the defensive end that the left guard's playing, or vice versa. We punch with the outside hand first, then we get that inside clamp. Again, things that I've learned from Coach McNally on Twitter this offseason. If you haven't been caught up on what he's put out this offseason, you've really been missing out. So we practice the up kicks with the guards. We'll go right guards here, then we'll flip them around to where the left guards are on, and the right guards are playing defensive end. We'll get the left guards up kicking them as well. Then our last pass pro technique will involve the centers, and then we'll have the backside guard as well. Say we're on a nose here, we'll practice dropping the post. So the center will drop his left foot, all right, and he'll get his right hand on the nose because he's going to get eyes on the linebacker. Now, in this specific iteration of the drill, I don't put a linebacker there, but I do only want to see one hand on the nose because the right guard's also going to be dropping his left foot here, and then he's going to be getting his hands on the nose as well. Because the defender's inside of him instead of outside, going to have the guard drop his post foot instead of up kicking to him, and that really helps timing with the center here as well. Now, the last pass protection drill we're going to talk about is probably actually the most important, and that is just being able to get into the right protection. So I'll have our first offensive line up to start with, and then once they're done, we'll go 2s, 3s, etc. But I'll just align the defense in a front. So from here, I just ask whoever we have in charge of checking the protection what protection we need to run based on the call that we were given. He tells me, and then I move the front around. Okay, so maybe now I tell this linebacker to drop out, and then I add another linebacker over here. What protection do we need to be in now? Okay, here's another one. Now they're both down. Okay, so we need to 5-0 it. So we'll start with the 1s, get all our protection checks in there, and then we'll rotate the 2s in, the 3s, freshmen, and so on. So that's all of the drills that I run as an offensive line coach. Don't forget, I've got a bonus for you after we talk about which ones that I run every day. So our EDDs, first off, I already told you number 1 is the combo drill. If I only get a couple periods for Indy, I think that the best way we can spend them is by working on our combos and our deuce blocks. Almost every time we're blocking somebody, it's some sort of combo or deuce block. So that's why I think this is the most important place that we can spend our time. Number 2 is we'll work our pass pro strikes. Now, I didn't name a drill the pass pro strikes, but if you noticed whenever we were going through the pass, we had a drill for tackles, had a drill for guards, and then a drill for centers and the backside guard. So what I'll do a lot of the time is I'll split the offensive line. I'll let the tackles go with my assistant coach, and I'll go with the interior guys. because I've been really changing how we pass protect on the interior this offseason. As we get more used to that, there will be some days that I go with the tackles and he goes with the interior. But either way, we split those two groups up so that way we can run both of these drills in the same period. And then if I still need one more drill every day, the next one that I would work, if all things are equal, are solo blocks. Now, if I saw on film that we aren't kicking right or we aren't reading our wraps the right way, then that would be the next one that I insert here. But if it's just, another week in June or July, I'm probably preferring to work solo blocks over our kicks and our wraps. All right, now for the bonus drill at the end of this video that you've been waiting for. This kind of goes with the quote, I don't know who said it, but sometimes to get better at playing football, you just have to play football. So what I take that to mean with our offensive line is sometimes we're just going to line up. I'm going to get the first group out there first, just like we did with checking the protections. I'm going to put a defense out there, and I'm going to call a play. So it's very important to note what this drill is for me. This is not inside run. Okay, I've got B's for linebackers. That's just the second string offensive line if our first string is up. What I want to know from this drill is that you can make the checks that we need to make based on the front we're seeing, that you can get to the right guy. We don't need to go 100% right here. We'll save that effort for inside run later in the day. That's most of the time that I run this drill, is we've got inside run later in the day. We're calling a play that we've maybe tweaked for the week based on the front that we're seeing, or we've seen a different front, and I want to make sure that you know who to block whenever we get the camera out and the lights are on Friday night. So how this will work is I'll call a play, I'll let the offensive line check whatever they need to check, and then I'll tell them our cadence to snap the ball. We'll get a snap from the center, and then we'll just get to our guys. We don't have to get there 100% by running each other over. Don't need anybody getting injured in practice. Definitely don't need anybody getting injured in individual period. Now, we're going to go 100% in inside. We're going to go 100% in team. We don't need to go 100% in individual right here, in my opinion. So here, maybe I say we're going to run inside zone to the left. We're going to arc the backside tackle. I will tell the play side linebacker to kind of get out of the way so that our tackle knows not to push the count over to him. So we would just have both offensive linemen just touch this defensive end, and then they would go up to the linebacker. Same with the center on the nose. Then the backside tackle would take the backside linebacker with the arc, because that's who we're going to read. Then maybe I'll come back with the same play. Maybe we're going to run inside zone to the left, but now that outside linebacker is down because we don't have a ghost tight end to block him. So we'll make our call to push the count, and now we'd be blocking it up like this, just so I know that they know where to go. Again, we're not going to kill each other here in individual time. We're just going to get to the right spot so that I know that whenever we get to those team or those group periods that we're going to be in the right spots. Then I can make any adjustments that I need to now while we're going at half speed. What I really like to do with these is maybe we're running a gap scheme like a power or a counter, and we don't have somebody blocked. So say we're going to run counter here, and our H-back would be responsible for the play side linebacker. So I'll let them get to their guys, and I'll let them notice that the play side linebacker is not blocked. So I'll quiz them. I'll say, who's supposed to have the play side linebacker? And it takes them a second because I want them to kind of see the play out in their heads, and then they realize that it's our H-back that's supposed to have him. Now, they've kind of caught on to me a little bit that if I ask them that that's probably the guy they're supposed to block, but it does help just making sure they know their stuff a little bit better. So there you have it. All the drills that I run as an offensive line coach summed up in this video. Now, throughout the video, I did reference quite a few different techniques. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more. On my list, I do have plans to make videos about each of these different techniques, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss them. Let me know in the comments down below if you run any of these drills, and if you do, what you call them. Let me know if you have any drills that I didn't mention that you run. I'm always looking to get better as well. If you enjoy the video, if you learned a new drill, make sure you hit that like button so you can tell YouTube that other coaches need to be watching this video. And if you want to learn more about my mindset as a coach, make sure you watch this next video where I go in depth as to what I learned from the great podcast series, The Play Callers.